Good morning, everybody. I'm intuitive numerologist Sue Coffin, and I'm here with our go-to astrologer, Dorothy Morgan.
Hi, everybody.
Dorothy, every time we see Dorothy, we know Mercury Retrograde is on.
It's on the way.
For our back doorstep. So welcome. Always good to see you, my friend. Always
Good to see you too. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
I love having these conversations. I love having somebody to talk to as a Gemini, fellow Gemini.
Yeah.
I usually talk to this little light on my computer all by myself. It's wonderful to have somebody to collaborate with. I love it.
It is, isn't it? I agree. Yeah. I agree. It's talking just just with yourself is no fun at all.
Yeah, but I do it.
Yes, you do. I follow you. Yes, you do. And you do it very well.
Thank you.
Very well. All right. So we, for numerology, we're in a 7 universal year. That slows things down. That wants us to look beneath the surface. There we are going to be finding out some things at the end of this year, I think are going to become. But this month for numerology is an 11-2. So something unexpected can come forward. And I suspect that's going to happen at the end of this month. It could go into in May, the last week, the first week of May.
So the last week of April. So we're in April 2023, in case somebody's seeing this some other year.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, to May 2023. I think something's going to come forward. It's going to be like the third week in May that it's justice. Somebody's triggering somebody again to bring out something, from beneath the surface to show us all about value, realistic looking.
Oh, that's perfect word for exactly what's going on the third week in May.
Let's hear.
Do you want to hear it? I know we're here to talk about Mercury retrograde, but Mercury retrograde is in that time frame. Mercury retrograde is April 21st, 2023 to May 14th, 2023. So it's that 3 weeks. So in mid-May, the third, approximately, I know the 14th is the second week, but that just as Mercury goes direct right around May 14th, it's very late at the end of the night. So it could be the 15th where you live, but it's in the middle of the night. Jupiter enters Taurus on May 17th. Taurus is about what we love and value. Mercury retrograde, which again is what we're here to talk about, but there's always more than just the one thing we're focusing on. I just want to put a pin in the Mercury retrograde for a second, but I just want to clarify for anybody listening to this, while right now you and I are talking about one specific thing and then another specific thing, we must always see the big picture, because all of the astrology out there is more than just the one thing that we're talking about. So
most definitely.
Of course,
there's numbers, so many numbers to look at.
So much. Okay, I'll pull the pin back out. Back to Jupiter enters Taurus just a few days after Mercury finishes its retrograde in Taurus. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, well, what is Mercury? What are we going to do with this Mercury retrograde? And again, I'm a Gemini, you're a Gemini, Sue. Gemini ruling planet is Mercury, so we got an affinity for the dude and or dudette. I don't care. Mercury actually is non-gendered, and we're not saying gendered as female male bodies. We're just saying the masculine feminine energy. So it is because some planets have a more feminine, which is receptive, and some planets have a more masculine, which is assertive. So again, we're not talking physical. We're talking energy.
So Mercury is in between. It could go either way.
It's neutral. Yeah. It's
nice.
It's
I
neutral.
Didn't know that.
That's Gemini, the twins.
Well, there you go. Right. That makes sense now.
It does. It does. Yeah. And so as we get to this retrograde, again, we're always hearing that, oh, it's so negative. It's like, just please do. I mean, people can make fun of it, and that's fine. It's like, oh, Mercury's retrograde, something's going to go wrong. Well, stuff goes wrong all the time. And, Again, that's why we have to look at the bigger picture. What this Mercury retrograde can really hone in, and we can really hone in and focus on with this Mercury retrograde, personally and even nationally and globally. But I, being a Gemini, it's a personal sign. I still want to talk to you personally. People always say, what does this mean for me? I can get personally as a general statement what it means for me, for you as individuals. We would have to know what your chart is. So, but we always want to know. So Mercury is, of course, it's about communication. So take these keywords I'm going to say, and we'll make 2 columns. And then you're going to pick the things that resonate with you, because not everything is going to happen that I say in your world. It might in somebody else. You might even see it in somebody else, but not in your own. So Mercury is how we communicate, how we receive information, contracts that we sign. And it is important. If you have to do things, just do them. If they need to be redone, they'll be redone. It's not the end of the world, because there are times when we cannot not do something because Mercury's retrograde and it's in a shadow phase. Please just stop that. Just let it be what it is. Mercury in Taurus is about taking our time. Taurus is fixed earth. It is slow. It is, again, slow means not quick. Mercury is a fast planet. He wants things done fast, but he has to express his energy through the sign of Taurus, because that's the color, that's the clothes he's wearing now during this retrograde. So that means absolutely have to slow down. And if you don't, you will need to redo things. That's just normal. It's just normal cause and effect,
that's what
right?
that's what 7 is.
Is it?
7 wants you to slow down. If you don't slow down, it can slow you down.
Yeah.
You got to be very careful here.
Yeah. And all the retrogrades in 2023 are in earth signs, just a small exception at the very end of the year. We won't get into that till we get there. A very, very small exception. But that represents the fact that if they're in the earth signs, that means we're needing to find our stability. We've had a hell of a number of years, and we are in a lot. There is so much changing. Mercury is your local environment, your neighborhood. And if there's too much going on out in the world, because there is, and it's impacting you, you need to get back in your lane. I'm not saying ignore things that are important to you out in the world. Be proactive, be an activist, be a politician, be whatever it is that's important to you. But if it's too much for you, especially with these all the Mercury retrogrades in earth signs this year, it's about bringing it back into your environment. You don't have to be a recluse, just less. Does that make sense?
It sounds like you're saying ground yourself. Take time. Be very active in that process, because it might try to spin us out of control. So we have to come back and just actively ground ourselves.
Right. Through all the fear mongering. And, and the fear mongering is just, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. Is there truth in some of it? Of course there is. There's always a seed of truth in some way, but what's your perspective? Of course, you have to look at that. So, and the reason I'm saying this is because Taurus, being earth, being grounded, being slow, it's what we value, right? So Mercury, we're going to be able to, ideally or ideologically, is that the right? I don't know if that's the right word or not, but we're going to be able to see what we value. We're going to actually be able to define even more, or not even more, because if you have good values and you know what your values are, it's not asking you to change them, but you're really going to get to see what you value because of all the BS that's happening around us and in the world. Taurus also is about, here's 2 big components with Taurus, besides being everything we already said, grounded. It's our food. Taurus rules food. That's really big out there. There's a lot of activism going on around farming food. This is a global thing. It's huge. It is very important. If you want to be active about something and you feel resonating, please do so. Food is so important. But if that's not your gig, I'm not a big activist. I'll tell you what to do. And if you want to, if you choose to do it, you go do it. I'm going to talk about your personal things. If you have the place, get those organic, those hybrid seeds, the natural seeds, and make your own garden. Support your local farmer. Mercury, local environment. Again, it's not just communicating. Mercury is your neighborhood. It's your cousins. It's the people you grew up with. It's your neighborhood that you live in, the society, your local environment, your town hall, your town legislators. It's all of those things. So back to the food piece, support your local farmers. Really hone in on that. Really make sure the local farmers market in my town is not doing it anymore because there wasn't enough interest. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh shit. I only moved here last year. I swore. Sorry, guys. I only moved here. I've only been here 1 year. And I was like, I really liked it. There wasn't a lot to offer, but that's why. And so I'll find somebody, I'll find a local farmer and just see if I can get one of those boxes. But the point is like I know it sounds really mundane, but it is. This is what we do during transits like this. And with Jupiter entering Taurus, just as Mercury is finishing its retrograde, this is important. This is important because Jupiter is going to really show us where our food insecurities are.
So what does Jupiter represent?
Represents expansion of what it brings us the truth. It brings us knowledge. It expands everything. It's just like blowing up a balloon. Here's that balloon of our food. See what we got. See what we don't have. See the problems that we have.
And this isn't gardens. This is farmers. I mean, this is
farmers.
Livestock.
This is all
anything
food.
Wow, that's interesting.
All food. This is the big thing. I was looking at this before we started, and I really hadn't got in my head yet about the Jupiter and Taurus because I haven't really I know what it means just analytically, but I hadn't really hadn't really sat with it until I was prepping for today, and I was like, oh,
yeah, that's interesting.
Food. I don't want to scare people, but trust your instincts when it comes to how you're preparing, what you're purchasing, your supply line, who's around you.
It could be even inflation, right?
And then it's money. You're right, Sue.
Yeah.
Taurus is what we value. And one of those things is money. So that's the other sector of this. Because I was getting to that. You got me.
I'm sorry.
Good for you. No, you're perfectly fine. You know better. You're okay to speak up. That's what we do. So it's like now we also want to, besides paying attention to our food and doing it from a place of, I want to be prepared. And I'm not saying there's shortages. I'm not saying any of that. I just think that we really need to make sure we know where our food is coming from, especially locally, and how we're processing that. Yeah. And then to the Taurus also rules our finances and our money. And it's also banks. We already had some bank stuff a few weeks back. More may come. It's federal money, right? So we can, there's always an issue around our government, like making a budget and bouncing it up. God, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I know.
Damn.
I know.
My
right.
I got a ceiling that's like right there. It's like, oh, I just want to spend more. Can I move that? Just give me more money. I don't know. I'm being sarcastic, but not.
You're right. I hear you.
I'm walking a fine line of being political. Sorry. Lenders, borrowers, the money we bring in, the money we have invested, that is something that is important. We are in inflation. Can it keep going? Statistically and historically, it should probably have peaked by now, but we can never tell until we're about, 6 months to a year out from what I understand as an absolute amateur at understanding that stuff. But so who knows if we're out of it yet, but Jupiter in Taurus will absolutely, it will spend a year in that sign.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, it always does. It spends 1 year in every sign. Right now it's in Aries, and right now it's kicking some butt. but another story. You can get that on my YouTube channel.
There you go.
Or in my Patreon. I have a Patreon. It's just a little plug. And
Yeah,
on we go.
nice.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I talk about those things there. But yeah, the Jupiter in Taurus, Mercury retrograde in Taurus. Taurus is again the money and our finances.
Right.
So you're going to want to pay attention to that too. Maybe it's just important for you to pay some debt down right
Yeah,
now.
there you go.
That would be, because that's
freedom.
Yeah.
When you do that, that's freedom.
It really is.
Talk to me about the last week in May. I see the last week in May where there can be some big money issues during that time.
Let me go to the
There's
astrology.
more banks that have issues. I know that there's a lot of countries that are starting to say they're not going to use the dollar anymore. So
I've heard that too. Oh my God.
We got a lot of things going on financially, and then next
I know,
year for numerology next year, it's all about finances, and it's the karmic debt.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because in Mercury, and Jupiter's not even in Taurus yet. So that is, so the last week of May, we are eclipse seasons too. So it doesn't necessarily, the eclipses we have April 20th is at 29 Aries, and then May 5th, sometimes it's a different date, but depending on where you live, May 5th, it's, oh my gosh, I forgot what degree. Yeah, it's in Scorpio. It's at 14 degrees of Scorpio. So the sun is in Taurus, the moon's in Scorpio, and that's finances. So that's one of the things. And I know that's May 5th, not the end of May, but again, Jupiter is just so first off, that eclipse May 5th in the Taurus Scorpio opposition is financial. It's financial, and again, it's food and finances. It's two separate categories, but are obviously together.
Yeah.
We have money to buy food, and big farms are anyways, corporate now. Taurus is the finances, and Scorpio represents the money we owe or big corporations. It's money that is just that really the deep stuff, this stuff that, it's banking, and it's interest, and it's money you make from estates, and it's just the deeper Scorpio.
Right. It's the stuff beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Which is what 7 is. It's the stuff that's underneath there that everybody says is there, but is it really there? We don't know.
It is there. Yeah, it is there. It is there. It's that control, the financial control. And that's interesting too, that you say that, Sue, because I am, I'm not a numerologist as you are. And to me, 7 was always about, well, taking the spiritual journey in. I don't know about the darker side. I think it's just the fluffy, oh, I'm just going to ohm my way out of this. And it's just not true.
No, it's about self-reflection, total about self-reflection. Which is what we're doing this year. We're looking at things on a much deeper level. We're looking at it analytically. 7 is also an analytical number, but it also is spiritual. So anybody who carries a lot of 7 energy usually over analyzes their intuition. So it's really important that we connect to our intuitive side and trust it this year. Very important.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, Neptune's been in Pisces for a long time, and he's at the very end of Pisces. He's still going to be a few more years before he leaves that sign. Right now, I'm not getting a big hit on the very, very end of May, but everything leading up to that is so important. I could probably find something later when I'm not just looking for it.
And I put you on the spot. May,
that's right.
In numerology is the 3, and 3 is about words. So there's some things that are going to continue to come up. And we know that everybody's, has an opinion, and we're all trying to figure out how that really works with us. But
and
I
Mercury
think there's
is
more
words.
Yeah, I think there's more coming in with words.
Yeah. There's absolutely more with that. And what else did I come here? Is there anything else?
Technology.
Yeah, the
science.
Technology, the AI stuff is Pluto in Aquarius.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story. So Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius right now. Yeah, let me get my dates for that. Yeah, he's in there until he entered March 23rd and is in there until June 11th. Now, this is just an absolute, like, just I'm barely I just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
That's it. We really don't. We have an inkling of what that might be like, that Pluto in Aquarius, because it's only in there for a few months, which means very little. However, and we saw it coming too, because Saturn for 2.5 years before very recently was in Aquarius. So Saturn was stirring all of that stuff up for a few years, all of the AI stuff, on Facebook, everybody started putting their faces into this AI art
somebody
thing.
told me about that.
Oh my God, the hundreds of people I saw do that. I'm like, seriously. Wow.
That's bad. That's bad.
Anyways, and now Chat GPT or something, it's just, kids are using it in school to write their reports. They're cheating. They're not learning. I mean, not everybody, of course. People are using it just to create this, that, and the other thing. I dipped my toe in and I started looking at it and I had to tell it stuff. I'm like, no, that's not right. What the hell are you talking? So it's learning. So all these people testing it. So I immediately contributed to it astrologically. But the point is like, that is what that shows up as. That's Pluto in Aquarius. We're only just getting the very tip of the absolute just tip of the iceberg when it comes to technology. You and I, Sue, I mean, we're going to be, by the time we're in our old folks' home or wherever, we're going to be confounded by, like my grandmother was. She's like, what? You do what on a what? She just, you don't have the neurons to get it anymore.
No, I don't now. I can't imagine down the road. There's too much.
I do, but I don't give a shit about it because I don't care. I have such a potty mouth some days. So that's March to June 11th, Pluto in Aquarius, but it enters Capricorn again. So when it's in goes back into Capricorn, that from June 11th all the way until January 24th, 2024, Pluto back into Capricorn. That's going to that's the people, the dark, the powers that be that are losing power and losing control, and the foundation is really rumbling. That's when it's really going to start hitting. That's when it's really going to hit the fan. That's when it's really going to hit the fan. It has to. It's like taking out a cancer. Sometimes you have to go in there more than once to get it all. It's just like that. And that's what this is. So to me, we're getting a view of what can be, even things like what was going on in Tennessee this last week, with it's a political thing. Some people were just kicked out and then now they're back in and blah. It was there was just a big political thing. You guys can look it up if you want. And that's Pluto in Aquarius, where the fresh people, the new people, the youth are going in. The young people, the educated people, they're educated and they're young, and it's exactly what it should be. They're coming in, and they're both African-American young men with incredible degrees, and they're coming in Tennessee and making a difference. But they're getting a lot of pushback. That's what we need. That's Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto is such a slow transformative thing. Nothing compared to Mercury. Mercury is, again, bring it back to here, back to now. This is how I like to tie things up, if I will. Bringing things back to here, back to now, back to your neighborhood. You can look at what's going on out in the world, and you can be an activist and a fighter for what's important for you, but bring it back to now, bring it back to your own lane, bring it back to your family, to the people you love, to your community, and work there more than anywhere. That's how we'll get through the next few years that are incredibly tumultuous.
And it also might mean, because even with everything so politically divided, even families are having trouble now, which is sad. So
It is.
this Mercury might allow us to be able to use our words a little bit better, to be able to try to pull ourselves back.
Yeah, bring
We
it
can,
back to,
all agree to disagree. There's nothing
yeah,
wrong with that. That's how we all learn, right? Is
yeah,
by
mhm,
listening and talking and taking it home and thinking about it. So
yeah, yeah.
maybe
I
that
re
will be part of that.
I do, yeah. And I remember days, my gosh, 15 or 20 years ago, when I was part of business groups. And we were all
Yeah,
just learning how to market our business, our self-employed businesses. And then when we were done the business chat, we'd go to a restaurant and sit down and have a big meal, like big long table. And I remember standing up at when I'm not, I mean, I'm pretty assertive in these types of situations, but
yeah,
when it comes to group, I'm never the leader. But I happened to be sitting at the head of that table that one time by accident, and spouses were there, and people were starting to across the table talk, argue about something political. I stood up and I said, "We have always agreed no politics and no religion."
yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's right." Ended right there. I was
Okay.
like, I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And it used to
And
be
that could
that
be
way.
like Mercury in this time period, right? During these weeks, we
Absolutely.
can use that.
Yeah.
And
Getting back
it's
to
a,
home values, because
yes, there you
Taurus,
go.
if you know a Taurus or a person that, if you know enough about astrology that has strong Taurus planets, the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, rising sign, any of those, they're going to be somebody who is really steeped in tradition, because Taurus doesn't like things changing. And Mercury wants things to change, but Mercury has to work its magic through Taurus's rules. That's when a planet's in a sign. That's how it works. And so we have, it's not that we're needing to break any tradition, but we can fall back on tradition. So something like what I just said, no politics or religion at the table,
Yeah.
please.
Right. Right.
Or
It's
ever
almost like
again.
revisit, right? Revisit,
Yes. Yes.
revisit, and
Yep.
allow it to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I always say when Mercury's around, if you use the suffix,
Yes.
you're gonna do very well.
Perfect. And
Revisit,
indeed.
relearn, retalk.
And boy, do we learn lessons sometimes when that happens,
Yes, we
when
sure
we're
do.
not, and you know what? The ultimate authority of your life is you, not
Right. Oh, definitely.
not not your numerology, not my astrology. It's you.
Right.
And even if everybody says, "Oh, this is a great time to blah blah blah," if it don't feel right for you, you don't do it. If it
That's
feels right
right.
and everybody's saying don't, maybe not everybody, but you know what I'm saying? Get that, know your guidance.
Right. And
Number 7, right?
yeah, definitely. It's all about self-reflection, going inward, finding out who you are, where you've been in the past, the future, where you are right now.
Yep.
Look at it, feel it, talk to it, let it be.
Perfect.
It's okay to be who you are.
Yeah,
And I
really
think
is.
that's huge in
Yeah.
the way the world is going right now.
Right.
We are trying to all figure that out.
Yeah,
So
right. Exactly.
the energy is supporting that.
We are living in
Dorothy.
interesting times. Geez, Louise.
It's always a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much for sharing your
My pleasure
knowledge with
too.
us.
I love
Yeah,
it.
I
I
love
love
it.
it.
All
Yeah.
right, you take care.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.